two cuts that they do here at Waterford Crystal. It's called the flat cut or the reindeer cut. This is a cut that you can see here on the neck of this decanter. Now this cut would also be found on the stems of our drinking glasses or on the top of special trophy pieces. Now this cut here looks the simpler of the two cuts, but it's actually the more time-consuming of the two, because this cut is to be cut 3 times on 3 different wheels. And each cut is to start and finish in the same place, where the piece would not pass through quality inspection and the cutter would not get paid for the piece. Now the first cut is done on a rough carborundum wheel, the second on a slightly smoother carborundum wheel, and the third cut in a sandstone wheel. And if you just look here to the right of me, you'll see the blue coloured wheels. These are the carborundum wheels, and further down the reddy coloured wheels, these are sandstone wheels. Now all the pieces of crystal that you would have seen up to this stage, like this piece I'm holding here in my hand, has a smoky or frosted appearance. So the piece will now be sent for polishing, where it is dipped in an acid solution for 60 seconds, and this removes a thin layer of the crystal. And the piece will come out looking like this one here with the characteristic sparkle. You can see the difference here between before and after polishing. And the next stage then, when the piece is passed through our inspections, is the word Waterford and the seahorse emblem will be sandblasted onto each piece of crystal that's made here. Now this has been done since 1951, and it's usually put on the base of the piece or in the least obvious place. Now this mark, if it's a genuine piece of Waterford crystal, this mark will never wash or wear off, it will always be there. I'll just show you it here now. See there? Very hard to see there.
Staple type cut for a start wedge cutting. And there's a big range of cutting you can actually do here in wedge cutting, so much so we could be still here this time tomorrow and you still would not be after seeing enough of wedge cutting in Waterford Crystal. That's our big wedge cutting here in Waterford Crystal. And to show you what we can do here, I'll just show you a piece here. I cut 3 of those here at Christmas time here. This particular piece here, this is all wedge cutting again. All wedge cutting, no flat cutting. And before we start a little bit of work there, I'll just explain in a short space of time the way you work on a piece like that first here in Waterford Crystal. You work with an industrial diamond wheel. You'll have a range of about 30 different types of wheels, from a very small 1-inch wheel right to a 12-inch wheel. You change the wheel quite often for a piece like this here, about 15 times. The most popular question I'm asked about this particular piece is, how long did it take you to cut that piece of crystal? Every piece you see as you come right through the cutting shop there, from the smallest piece to the biggest piece here, everything here is costed in time in Waterford Crystal. You don't just come in on a Monday morning and somebody hands you something like that and they say, away you go Jack and have a nice time on it or whatever. Everything here is costed in time, and this particular piece here is costed for 3 days work. Now, you will, if it's costed in time for 3 days, you should be able to do it in 3 days. You won't do it in this area here. I don't work in this area here the whole time. I work further on up the cutting shop here, where all that Millennium Crystal is on display. Opposite that area there, it's called a special department area, and we do all special pieces, we do all trophies in that area there, and you work on piecework. Okay? So that's just in a short space of time explaining the way you work on a piece like that first here in Waterford Crystal. Now I'll just show you how we cut a piece here. We're still working on an industrial diamond wheel. You've got to keep plenty of water on the wheel. No water on the wheel, that means you put that glass to the wheel, it's going to crack. So it's important to keep plenty of water on the wheel. You're working on a piece of crystal like this here. You're either working on the guidelines, inside the guidelines, or across the guidelines. At the moment here, we're just working inside those guidelines here. So what we'll do is, we'll just work inside those guidelines here first, and we'll do a little bit more as well. And I'll take it off the wheel every so often, and I'll show you both directions what we're actually doing. So we'll just work in this area first, so I'll just show you what we're actually doing. Now it's important to keep the depth the whole way around as well. You can't have heavy cutting on one side and light cutting on the opposite side. Quality control will reject that piece of crystal, so it's important to keep the depth. take it off the wheel and just to start us off to show you what I'm actually doing here. We've walked from this corner here to this corner here, one heavy cut. We've walked from this corner here to this corner here, one heavy cut. Now we've got to work in the opposite direction now, making sure we're getting the same depth. So we work in the opposite direction here. Now, we've just walked in the opposite direction, as you can see here, and we're getting the same depth as you can see here. And most important is, we're getting those diamonds fairly regular. Now what we'll do next is, we'll work inside that diamond there. And we won't lean as heavy on the crystal here. So we'll just work inside that diamond there, and I'll show you what we can do here again. Now, we've just walked inside that diamond, as you can see here, and they're all fairly regular. As you can see, all those cuts are fairly regular. We walked in one direction, as you can see here, and we're going to walk in the opposite direction again that I showed you with the heavier cutting, making sure we're getting the same depth in the opposite direction again here. Again, I'll just show you what I'm actually doing there. You can see how we're actually walking inside that diamond here, and they're all fairly regular, as you can see here. All those cuts are fairly regular inside that diamond there. So we just finished that off there again. And we've just finished working inside that diamond. And you can see they're all fairly regular, as I said here. All those cuts are fairly regular. Now the next thing we'll do, we'll walk over two guidelines here. You see in this area here, we have what we call an arc. It's a little bit more difficult to do here, as you can see here. So we'll just walk over this area here. So we'll just do our arc on the same wheel again. And we've just finished cutting our arc, as you can see here. We walk from this area here to this area here. Over two guidelines, we walk over this area here. Now the last thing we do here, you see in this area here, we have what we call a 7-point rosette. There's 7 cuts in this area, and they're all coming into the centre here. Now when you put 7 in this area here, you've got to put 7 in the next one. You can't put 7 in this one and 6 in the next one. They'll reject that piece of crystal on you. So it's important that you get 7 into this area here. So we just do our 7-point rosette here. Again, I'll just take it off the wheel and I'll show you exactly what we're doing here. We just cut 4 cuts of that 7-point rosette, as you can see here already here, 4 cuts. So we'll do another 3 cuts on the opposite side of that there again, which will give us our 7-point rosette. And there you see, we've just finished our 7-point rosette. And they're all, 7 cuts are all meeting in the centre, as you can see. Now that's just a small fraction, as I said to you from the start here, of what you can do here in wedge cutting. There's a lot more if you had a lot of time to spend here, we could show you a lot more. But when the piece of crystal here is actually finished then, you will see it's quite dull. So I'll show you what happens to it then. Now, and this is a piece of crystal here I cut and designed myself here. You can do that here as well, cut and design your own piece of crystal here. And you see the way it actually dries out, it's quite dull. So what happens with that piece of crystal then, it's actually polished. Now when the same piece of crystal is polished here, you see the difference in it. It takes some of that dullness out of it here. And it takes it up to this stage here like this here. Same piece of crystal and the same design. Now each piece then is stamped with a Waterford stamp on the base of that piece of crystal here before it leaves the company here. And that's our finished product then. Okay. And that's explained it all in a short space of time.
Thanks very much.
And no questions, that's great.